Oh hey there, have you ever made a creation using really big wheels and all of a sudden, as soon as you start driving, you turn into Wobble Wheels McGee and you can't even steer properly? Well, guess what? I have the solution for you. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the future of big wheeled creations. Hey everybody, it's Moonbo here, and welcome back to more Endless Scrap Mechanic. Now, if you know me guys, I have made quite a few creations that uses extremely large wheels, such as these ones right here, but I've always come into an issue, and that is that the wheels are always so wobbly when you're trying to drive. Sometimes they will completely flip underneath your vehicle, you can't even drive anymore, you gotta reset it on the lift, and I said, you know what, pistons are here, I've had this idea for a bit, and I'm finally ready to stop having that issue. So in today's video guys, we are going to be checking out this really cool big wheeled mock-up of a vehicle right now, because I am going to canvas you guys on something, which is actually, I want to make a big monster truck with these kind of steering system. So if you guys put suggestions in the comments for like a giant monster truck, whichever one, you know, I know there's a lot of staple monster trucks out there, so if you guys want to maybe vote and like the ones that you want to see the most of the monster truck design, and then I will implement this steering mechanism in the monster truck. It's going to be really cool. The steering is so stable. So in this video though guys, we're going to check out the whole thing, how it's all working, and a few issues that you would run into if you didn't do it a certain way. And it's going to be a lot of fun, and I am going to get right to it. Alright, so here we are on one of the giant wheels. So we are just going to get a quick look at this whole thing, and then we're going to take this thing for a spin, and I'm going to show you guys a few issues like I mentioned. So here is the entire little mechanism on this side for one of the wheels. So as you can see here, it's using 3 pistons, and it's attached to like a little center column right here, which does have one of the pistons on it. So if I grab the connection tools, you can see that there is a little bit more going on than you might suspect. So at each anchor point here of the pistons, there is a free bearing, and then we have these pistons right here. They are each on an individual controller, and then we have the center piston here, which is incidentally not even hooked up to anything. It is actually just there as a buffer. And then over here you can see that we have a loose bearing here and here, and we also have one more loose bearing right here for the whole thing to kind of shift from side to side and skew its angle. And then the whole thing is actually, it comes right down here, so the wheel is actually mounted to this entire outer part right here. So I can show you guys probably if I grab the paint tool and try and paint straight down here, you can see that it doesn't actually hook up to any of those, and that is because of the bearing right here. So this is attached to that upper piece, and then the whole upper piece actually comes down. So I mean, if I wanted to, I could delete this right here and it wouldn't matter, but in the end I just kind of keep some concrete blocks right there just to keep it looking all good. So that is pretty much what the whole thing does as far as design. So if I hop into the seat here, you can see right behind me there is actually quite a few sensors. Now of course this could be a lot better. This is just quickly mocked together because I actually I made this front half right here and then broke it in the middle and then welded it together, so you can see that there's basically 2 halves, and then I just reversed the connections to make it so that the wheels turned opposite. So in this case though guys, we're using 4 sensors. So I've used this type of steering in a lot of my flying creations, but normally I would never use this entire little piece and actually make it pick up on both sides. So if we get into the seat here, you can actually see that it is giving you like a nice crisscross sensor pickup. So what you end up getting is each sensor, of course, is hooked up to one of the controllers here, and each controller, so this is where it's kind of interesting. Each controller pushes the piston out by default to 3, and then as soon as you activate it, it brings it back to 0. And that is where this center piston comes in handy, because if you wanted these pistons to counteract against each other, not only would you need all of the swivel bearings on the top corners here, But you also need this center one, and I have a little mock-up right here to show you guys, of course, if you don't already know about these pistons, how they interact. So in this case here, you can see I have 2 pistons right on the wall here, 1 and 2. And in this case, we have them set to 3 just like the other one, except one of them is going to try and pull itself in when we press the switch. Now, as you can see, it does really try to. It wants to, but it just can't actually turn over and pivot as well, especially if you don't have the bearings there. So in this case, though, I just figured, you know what? You get that really nice buffer action right down the center. And the best thing to see it happen is actually by putting it on a lift. So let's just move it over here so you can see all the pistons are currently compressed. And as soon as I press it, all the pistons expand. And like I mentioned, this one is not hooked up to anything, so it actually just gets pulled along for the ride. And then you have these 2 that are actually actuating. So that's pretty much how it works in a nutshell, but we can try and hop up, come on now, into the chair, there we go, and we can actually do like a nice little reverse U-turn here, and you can really see these wheels in action. Now, actually, there's one more thing I wanted to mention about the third bearing. I'm going to spawn a second one of these and show you guys what happens without that center column. Alright, so here you can see a close-up of that center column down there. It's actually compressing and being pulled out on out of its own free will. It's being pulled by those other 2 pistons. So if we actually get rid of this arm like that, and now we just have the 2 pistons, you'll notice a huge lack of stability. And the reason why that is not only do I have the bearings at the end here, but you also need these bearings here just to make sure that you have that slight wiggle room, or else they'll get all caught up. So without that center post though, this thing is actually pretty useless. So how about we hop over into that second one that I spawned. Alright, here we go. It's time to have a little bit of fun. So let's drive this thing around and get a feel for it. And then I wanted to experiment a little bit in this video and maybe add some bigger wheels and stuff like that. But here we go. You can see that this thing is actually extremely stable. Like you saw in the intro, those wobbly wheels, they happen to everybody. There's nothing you can do if you just put something simple like a bearing. So in this case though, it's just a lot more complicated for steering. There is a little bit of a delay, like, I mean, it's hardly noticeable, especially when you consider the size of this thing. But one thing I do want to do, like I said, is make a monster truck and then add this kind of steering system to it. That way we can actually do like some car, like driving over crazy stuff. Alright, so let's stop right about here. So that's pretty cool though. You can see all 4 of them working together to steer the car independently from each other. So a pretty neat creation. But I want to try something here, guys. We have the mod pack loaded up right now, and I'm pretty sure I can spawn a bigger wheel. Now, I have a feeling, though, just in case, I might need some thrusters added onto it as well. Alright, there we go. Just get rid of that one. Oh, yeah, these wheels are massive. Let's see how the piston steering works on this. Okay, add that one. This is 19 by 9, guys. These are massive wheels. I don't even know if the engines are going to be able to spin them. Okay, there it goes. It's spinning them. Oh, wow, look at this. It works like a charm. So, I'm not going very fast, though. This is just not fast enough. So, I am going to add some thrusters to this thing. Alright, there we go. We have a whole bunch of thrusters on the back, guys, and the massive wheels. Let's test this thing out. Alright, so far so good. It's not the super fast or anything, but it's definitely doing the trick here. The thrusters are kind of throwing me for a loop, though. Alright, so as you can see, guys, the piston steering is extremely strong. It's extremely stable, but one thing is now missing. We have the giant wheels. And we have the speed, we got the thrusters, but we don't have the suspension, so I'm gonna actually make this bigger suspension. Alright, there we go. It's all complete. We got these massive pieces of suspension. So now, let's see what happens. Alright, pick up some speed here. The suspension and the pistons definitely working together with no issue. Look at this. This is actually really awesome. Let's actually get some mad turning going on here. Alright, the thrusters are trying to make me fly right now, so I mean, I probably could have put those in a much better spot. Alright, let's see what we can do in some of this terrain here. Alright, take a quick left. So there we go, look at that. This is extremely stable steering, guys. I am not having a single issue whatsoever. And I'm really excited to actually implement this into, like, a real build. So there you have it, guys. That is my little solution to the old Wobble Wheels McGee problem when you're using the giant modded wheels. I'm so happy to have worked it out, and finally I'm gonna be able to use it. So like I mentioned earlier in the video, guys, if you have a suggestion for the monster truck and you want to see a certain one, then go to the comments and leave it there, and if you see the one that you want to see, give it a like so that way I know which one is the most popular. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Endless Scrap Mechanic. If you enjoyed the video or if you enjoyed the build, then make sure you hit that like button, and if you want to see more Endless Scrap Mechanic, then be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the notifications, you know, always stay up to date on the latest and greatest in Scrap Mechanic. So thanks for tuning in, everybody, and I'll be seeing you in the next one, so bye for now.